Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. Coming up, drivers uncover the secrets behind the trawlers from our region that sank in World War I. A North East Lincolnshire councillor says roads are being damaged and lives are being blighted by large lorries travelling at speed. And Dan Kemp has a roundup of this week's news. Welcome to Estuary News. I'm Erica Barker. Now it's over to Dan Kemp for the news headlines.
Hello there. 81 drivers were found to be not wearing a seatbelt during a week-long Humberside police operation. The force used an officer in a HGV cab aimed with a video camera set in the passenger seat next high above the traffic on the lookout for offenders using mobile phones, not being in control of a vehicle or other offences. 126 were detected in all. Protesters are claiming victory after it was announced exploratory drilling will cease at a site in East Yorkshire. Campaigners at Crawberry Hill near Walkington had erected a roadside protest camp to voice their concerns that the site's occupiers, Rathline Energy, were undertaking the controversial method of fracking, something they've denied. But the protesters were evicted from the site by East Riding of Yorkshire Council back in January. Rathline have now said they're focusing their efforts on their other site at West Newton in Holderness. Cyclists in Hull are being encouraged to try a new sport. Cycle Speedway is a sport which has had a boost in popularity thanks to the success of Team GB in the 2012 Olympic Games. The club in Hesley is offering taster sessions, encouraging people to try this increasingly popular sport.
There is quite a boost in interest in cycling. We seem to get it right the way through from very youngsters. You know, they'll probably just watch it on TV. They might only be 5 or 6 year old, and they come down here, and it just gives them a taste of the sport. Yeah.
Waltham Windmill Golf Club has hosted a Pro-Am golf tournament. The tournament attracts local golfing pros from all over Lincolnshire to play alongside club members and amateurs, with the aim of getting more people into the sport. Club managers are adamant the event will put the club on the map.
Most clubs in Lincolnshire have a Pro-Am in their calendar year, so hence Waltham's doing the same. It brings people from all around the county and outside the county to the golf club and helps us promote a wonderful golf club, which it is. I mean, Waltham's 19 years old. It looks very mature for its age. Rob joined us this year. The course is looking absolutely tremendous. The best, I can honestly say, I've seen it in the last 10 years.
And that's all from me for now. If you've got any news for us, don't hesitate to get in touch by calling 0147231 553, emailing us on news@estuary.tv, or by searching for us on Facebook or Twitter at Estuary TV. Bye for now.
A group of divers from northern Lincolnshire are getting set to uncover the stories behind two lost trawlers that sank just off Spurn Point in World War I this weekend, the Alberta and the Orcada. It's part of a larger project to find out what really happened to the thousands of fishermen who died at sea. I went to take a look. The face of Grimsby's dock has changed since the fishing industry went into decline many years ago. It's thought that 375 trawlers from our region were lost at sea. Divers from the Shipwrecks of the River Humber Group, who are leading the Grimsby's Lost Ships of World War I project, are working to identify the vessels, dive down to the wrecks and tell the story of their crew.
It's important because these people went out and they were fishing. They weren't fighting, they were fishing. Most of them were just out catching food for the country. Some of them were minesweeping, but the majority of them were just fishermen. As far as we know, the ones off the east coast here, none of them have been positively identified. So if we can put a name to them and tell the people where they are, at least it will give closure to some of the descendants of the families that were lost.
They've received over £150,000 in funding from the Heritage Group, but Kevin says the task is no mean feat.
A lot of research all over, Public Records Office in Kew, the local libraries. We've got people buried in the cemeteries, which gives us an idea of where they came from. And on the internet, nobody has ever collated it all together and put it into one place where people can look and say that's what happened to them. It's scattered all over, so we want to put it all together, write a book, we're doing a film, and hopefully by the time we finish everybody will know what happened to the trawlers from Grimsby.
People in the Humberston Road and Durban Road areas of Grimsby tell us they're unhappy at the state of their streets as a result of large lorries passing down them to access a logistics site, also reporting walls shaking and being woken in the night. Dan Kemp went to find out more.
Councillor Steve Bazant is the ward councillor for the East Marsh area. He's taking one last stand against the council to try and have a relief road put in. He's been campaigning for the new road after a number of local residents have spoke to him to voice their concerns at the volume and the nature of traffic going down their streets and the effect it's having on the highway.
Let's face it, I won't want to live down a road like this and live in a house like this. One lady was telling me that she was actually in a bath one day and it felt like a tsunami because the water was literally vibrating, it was. And other people are being woken up late at night, because it's a 24/7 operation, this. I wouldn't want to be woken up by a great big thundering lorry.
Stephen Bennett is one unhappy resident.
The road surface I was deteriorating. Sometimes I've actually picked up pieces of nuts and bolts of lorries that's actually been at the side of the road, lumps of rubber that come off the axles. And it's the times they actually run. They're supposed to finish at a certain time, but I can understand they've got certain things to do at certain times. I actually put a straight edge on one of the holes and I put a tape measure on it, and one of them it was 2 inches, the actual indentation on the road.
Councillor Bazant is very worried about one danger in particular. He's concerned that continued use of the road by heavy goods vehicles could one day result in a serious incident.
My concern is that potentially any day now there's going to be a lorry come down here, thundering away, and it's going to disappear because we'll have a sinkhole there, we will know, as such. And I'm not being alarmist about this, but that road is in a shocking state.
Many people were inspired to take up cycling after the Olympics, and in our region it was no different. Cycle Speedway in Hull and Hessel are offering free taster sessions. Dave Nunn went to find out what is involved.
The 2012 Olympics brought cycling to the masses and made cycling in velodromes incredibly popular due to Olympic success. However, another form of cycling, Cycle Speedway, has also taken off, but what exactly is it?
Cycle Speedway has been around since just after the war. It sort of grew up on the bomb sites, straight after the hostilities sort of thing. And it's really grown from there, so we've now got purpose-built tracks, and it's pretty much throughout the country really. There's about 40 clubs sort of spread around. We race in the north of England, so we go Sheffield, across to the West Riding, but we also go up to Edinburgh and Manchester, so quite a lot of travelling.
The track looks similar to a velodrome in its layout, but it's fairly different.
No, it's not. It's a little bit like a small speedway track in a way. So it's got a shell surface. It's about 70 metres long, but there are bank bends, so that's similarity there with the indoor velodromes. But there's a little bit of movement on a cycle speedway track, so you can actually sort of slide your bike a little bit to change your line. So it's not quite as grippy as it would be indoors.
Currently, the Speedway in Hull is hosting taster sessions for people to come down and give Cycle Speedway a go. Andy says that the boost that cycling got from the Olympics has had an effect.
That's what we're doing at the moment. We're just doing some sessions for the kids when they're away from school. So they book on here and come down and have a go. Most of these people have never ridden Cycle Speedway before. There is quite a boost in interest in cycling. We seem to get it right the way through from very youngsters. They'll probably just watch it on TV. They might only be 5 or 6 year old, and they come down here, and it just gives them a taste of the sport now.
The message from the organisers is for people to come down and give another alternative form of cycling a go.
I would say come along and have a go, yeah. Especially come to one of these taster sessions, or come down to a training night. We train every Tuesday. We've got plenty of newcomers, so you wouldn't be sort of faced with sort of the riders that have been doing it for a long time. Come and have a go.
The sports clothing store Sports Direct has announced its store within Grimsby's freshly placed shopping centre is to close its doors in October. The news comes just weeks after WH Smith announced it will be closing its Grimsby store next month. Now, with plans for the Ramsden's multi-retail development in the East Marsh moving a step forwards, with planners giving the new shopping complex the green light, we asked these people on the streets of Grimsby what they thought.
It's a really good shop. I always go in there, to be honest, just to buy, shoes and things. But yeah, I think it's pretty sad, actually.
It's a shame. It's a very big shame. To be honest, it might affect the people that are going there. So I'm hoping somebody else will take the place.
Well, to be fair, it's the same as all these sort of places. They're all right in the 70s and 80s, but they're outmoded. They're out fashion.
I think they're charging too much rent and things like that, so people are just moving out of the area and trying to go to these bigger out-of-town places or whatever, so because it's cheaper.
My son's always going there for the for the trainers and that, and it's nice. It's just the right place for it and all for all the sports equipment.
There's more and more empty shops in the markets. There's a lot more stalls empty, so it does seem to be going downhill a bit.
I use Sports Direct a lot, although we have got another one out of town, just a little bit further down Victoria Street, haven't we? So, no, it's a bit sad, really. I mean, they're all leaving, aren't they? The shop's just it's getting a bit more difficult to shop, because all the big shops are just going, don't know why.
I know we're going to end up with is second-hand shops, charity shops, and it's not good for business.
Yeah, I think it'd be a bit of a shame. It's quite a good discount store, really. Yeah, it's always got sales on in there. As you can tell by the way I'm dressed, it's a shop I do use quite a lot. So yeah, I think it'd be quite a shame.
One or two shops will notice that they're starting to close down, but sign of the times, maybe they shop on the computers, don't they?
It's now time for our Mayor Goes Where feature, and this week we speak to Margot Sutton, the Mayor of Hessle.
On Saturday the 15th of August, I'm at the Veterans Team Championship at the cycle track on Hessle Foreshore, and they race there regularly, and they're very good participants of Hessle. So at 2 o'clock on the 29th of August, I'm at the Hessle and District Allotment Association annual prize giving. That's organised by the Hessle and District Gardens Association. The town council give prizes and their own association give prizes. So we're there to present the best in show tomatoes and chrysanthemums and all things like that. And it's a fabulous show. Very, very good. I'm also going to a civic service on the 6th of September. That's at Heddon. And I'm also at a civic service on the 20th of September. That's at Brigg. And on Sunday the 30th of September, with a wreath-laying ceremony for the Battle of Britain commemoration service at the Cenotaph. My charities that I'm supporting are the Hessle Community Centre. I've been on the committee there for quite some time, and we're trying to raise money for a new minibus and get the inside of it renovated, because it's in need of a bit of a lick of a paint and a coat of paint and everything like that. So that's what I've been raising money for recently.
Now we look back on my interview with Ted Ford, who has raised thousands for charity. Well, what a lovely story there. Well, joining me in the studio then is Ted Ford, who has raised thousands of pounds for St Andrew's Hospice in Grimsby, which cares for people of all ages with life-limiting illnesses. Hello Ted, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yes. Fabulous. You've got some wonderful things on this table, haven't we? I'll show this to the camera. So this is your garden then, isn't it?
Yes, it
and you've opened this then to the public, and people have given a small donation, all of which has gone to St Andrew's Hospice, hasn't it?
Yes, indeed. We had 190 people through on the Saturday and the Sunday, which was quite remarkable, which was an advancement on last year, where we raised 800 and something pounds
because
last year.
How much did you raise this time?
We managed to raise £1,060 and 15p.
That's incredible, isn't
Yes,
it? Did you ever think it'd be so popular?
Well, I always set targets, and when we took on this one this year, which is, unfortunately is going to be the last one that we do, but in saying that, people would still be welcome to come and have a look or buy the pictures, because all the money that we raise on sale of pictures, there's 15% of that goes to the hospice funds as well.
Now, to do this must have taken hours and weeks and months to prepare this for people to come
yes,
and
indeed.
see it.
The main, it's like building a mural at the end of the garden, because the very first picture on the end, the tree picture, I actually took a photograph of that way back in 2002. And that was of the Floriada, and the theme then became, once I realised it was the 70th anniversary of the end of the war, I wanted to dedicate this, and so in building the end, I painted the picture with the tulips, and that was a job. And the one with the windmills on is a irrigation canal, all linked through Holland. And you probably noticed that there are flags in there as well. And being linked with the choir to Holland, and my Rotary Club through Denmark and Holland, two Rotary clubs that is. And I thought, well, I'll make that as a dedication to the people who were there, and in fact to the ones who were lost in fact.
But also, you've met a celebrity yourself, haven't you, in the past?
Oh, celebrity. He was more than a celebrity. And that goes back to when I was a 12-year-old.
And who was it that you met?
It was Sir Winston Churchill. He was ordinary Winston Churchill in those days. And I was fortunate to be invited to in 1940 this was, so they couldn't say that the Prime Minister was coming, and he was then known as the First Lord of the Admiralty in those days. And in fact, I think I brought a picture, I have indeed, of the very meeting with Winston Churchill, who was there in the middle, and yours truly stood near this.
I tell you what, it looks a little bit small on that screen, Ted, but I can definitely confirm that I can see you on there. And that is an incredible story, and thank you so much for coming in and sharing your experiences. Ted, I'm going to have to leave it there. It goes so fast, doesn't it?
Yes, it did, yeah.
Now joining me is Dan Kemp then to look at this week's news. Hello Dan, how are you?
Good evening, yes, I'm good, thank you. Are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, not bad at all.
Good, should we start off with a huge crack that's appeared close to the cliff edge at Mappleton. Then this is in East Yorkshire, on the East Yorkshire coast. And a big split's appeared near Cliff Lane in the village. And it's at quite a popular viewing point, which is what has made people obviously notice that it's appeared. It was first spotted on Wednesday, and it was 2 inches wide in the morning. And by the end of the day, it'd gone to 6 inches. So obviously it showed how quickly that's deteriorating. And obviously concerns because people live nearby, not on this particular spot, but obviously in Mappleton there are caravans, houses, and people have problems with insurance and things like that. So the council have fenced it off, they've had people down there checking on it, and they think within the next couple of days potentially it'll have gone into the sea. And we know this area is the fastest eroding coastline in Northern Europe. That's something I learned in GCSE geography anyway.
Because it has been getting worse and worse, hasn't it, over the years?
Yeah, this coastline just goes by, I think it's metres every year. And I know we've looked at maps from the past, and there's villages that were there before and they're not there now. So it's going at such an alarming rate that one day, obviously, places like Mappleton won't exist either. And this is just a small part of that that's going to be going away, unfortunately.
And that's going to continue then? They've not got any defences around there,
no,
have they?
I think the thing is you've got to protect the towns really, like Hornsey, Withensea, places around there that need protecting. And by protecting those places with flood barriers, that means that the areas that aren't as important, need to be protected by for as many homes. Like small villages, they're the ones that get
I suppose when thinking about financially, about the numbers, but obviously all places are important, aren't they? And
they're important to the people that live there, aren't they? Of course, yeah. And apparently it's quite a common type of fissure, but it's not often seen because this is obviously quite an important point that people like to go and look at. Good viewpoint.
Oh no, it's beautiful, beautiful scenery. What else do we have?
The next story is also from the Hull Daily Mail, and this is the Airco Arena, and it could be transferred to a charitable trust. And this is according to a hearing where Ehab Alam, who's the vice chairman of Hull City spoke to Leeds Crown Court, which was about the SMC, who also run the KC Stadium and the facilities around it. They've potentially been in breach of an operating lease because Hull City wanted to build an academy within the facility, but it's not their facility to actually build it within. And they laid down earlier in the year a 3G pitch in there, which was actually illegal because it was Hull City Council's venue.
So what happens
they just
to
have the
that
lease
then?
for it.
Right, okay.
Well, now they've been to court to kind of work out what the next steps are, and in the hearing, which they're still hearing to read the results from, they've decided that one option is to put the facility into the Tigers Sport and Education Trust, and that's to save about £100,000 a year.
Oh,
so it's another cost-cutting measure, which the club obviously needs to go through after being relegated as well.
Oh, I'm going to have to leave it there, but thank you for your time, Dan.
No problem.
Now it's over to the sports news with Dan Kemp.
Hull City travel to Wolverhampton Wanderers on Sunday, looking to keep up their unbeaten start in all competitions. Bruce is left with a number of key decisions to make for his side, including whether to recall Arsenal loanee Isaac Hayden or stick with David Mailer, who played at Accrington in midweek. Scunthorpe United have no new injury concerns ahead of their game against Crewe Alexandra. Jamie Ness has returned to training, but the chances of him featuring tomorrow seem slim. Grimsby Town host Bromley in the National League. According to reports, manager Paul Hurst is hoping to recall John Paul Pittman and Marcus Marshall for the game at Blundell Park. And North Ferriby United host Solihull Moors. The Villagers have signed right fullback Sam Topless from Hull City. The defender was part of the United side that won the FA Trophy at Wembley last season and will be available for Billy Heath's side for tomorrow's game. Hull FC are at St Helens tonight. The Black and Whites travel to Langtree Park, knowing that their chances of making the playoff semis are already all but over. However, the club have been boosted by two new additions to their squad for next year. Sika Manu comes in from the NRL side Penrith Panthers, while Danny Washbrook returns to the KC after 4 years away at Wakefield. Meanwhile, Hull KR host Halifax on Sunday afternoon. They're boosted by news that assistant coach Willie Poaching is close to penning a new deal with the club. And finally, the Scunthorpe Scorpions have the chance to move off the bottom of the table tonight when they take on the Redcar Bears. That's all for now. Don't forget to get in contact with any sports you have for us. You can call 01472 31 553, email sport@estuary.tv or search for us on Facebook or Twitter. And that's all for the sport.
That's all then for this evening. If you have a news story, then visit our Facebook or Twitter pages at Estuary TV or email news@estuary.tv or give me a ring on 01472 31 561. Until tomorrow, good night.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Saturday looks to have much quieter conditions with most places dry, with sunny intervals and a light westerly breeze. Feeling pleasantly warm though in the sunshine despite the fresher feel, with maximum temperatures of 18 degrees. Sunday is looking quieter again with a lot of dry weather and some pleasant sunny intervals. Isolated light showers are possible though, perhaps more likely on Monday and Tuesday.